Hello, and welcome to another episode of In Just 1 Minute or So. Today we continue with the Agile methods, and today is about Adaptive Project Framework, APF, Lean methodology, and the critical path method. Let's jump in. For APF, Adaptive Project Framework methodology, also known as Adaptive Project Management, APM, this is a type of Agile methodology that was designed with the inevitable change in mind. When you're using this method, you're trying to anticipate the risk and prepare for the unexpected in the project. The team needs to understand that the key components are constantly in flux and that you need to be able to constantly reevaluate results and decisions with these moving parts in mind. And as you may have expected, this requires lots of communication with all stakeholders. And like any other Agile methodology, you need to be able to work collaboratively. So you're using this method if you know your ultimate goals, that is the conditions of satisfaction. You're not using this method if you need predictability or if you don't have the resources to handle the potential negatives of adaptability. Let's jump now to Lean methodology. This method has its origin also in manufacturing, and especially the Toyota production system. The whole principle here is to maximize value and minimize waste. And we're not referring only to the physical waste. Actually, we're referring to wasteful practices in the project management process. And these are the 3 M's: Muda, Mura, and Muri. Muda, wastefulness. It consumes resources without adding value for the customer. Mura, unevenness. It occurs when you have overproduction in one area that throws all of your other areas out of whack, leaving you with too much inventory and wasteful, or inefficient processes, also wasteful. And finally, Muri. Muri, overburden. It occurs when there is too much strain on resources, such as equipment and people, which can often lead to breakdowns in both machines and humans. So by applying the principles of Lean, a project manager can reduce these types of waste to create more efficient workflows. So you will use this methodology if you're trying to optimize the flow, if you look for improving and adding value to the customer, and you want to ultimately decrease the costs. You're not going to use this method if you can't afford to run into supply problems, like for instance you don't have enough inventory in stock, or you lose room for error in the case of essential equipment failure. You're not going to use it if you don't have the budget to invest in it. Finally, let's move to critical path method. It's also known as critical path analysis, and because it's a way of identifying and scheduling all the critical tasks that comprise your project as well as their dependencies. This means that you need to identify all the essential tasks that you need to do to achieve your project goals. You need to estimate how much time each of those tasks will take, bearing in mind that certain tasks will need to be completed before others can be started. And lastly, you need to use all of that information to schedule the critical path you will need to take in order to get the project done as quickly as possible without missing any crucial steps. The longest sequence of critical tasks becomes your critical path and will define the time frame for your project. Along the path, you will have milestones to meet that will signal when one set of tasks or phase is over and you can move on to the next one. There are lots of ways to visualize the critical path depending on the complexity of your project, from flow graphs to Gantt charts. So when you will be using this method, probably your project is large scale and complex, has a lot of dependencies, and you're looking for a visual way to map out the sequence of tasks. You also need to identify which tasks are the most important, and so you can better allocate the resources. You may also have a strict plan and deadlines with no room for silly business. You will not be using it if you don't need something with a lot of complexity, if you're unsure about your deadlines, timings, or durations, and if you need a wiggle room to change. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll continue in the next episode with more agile methods. Thank you.